Hi, Gavin Bottrell here. I've come down to my local golf course, Stoneleigh Deer Park in Warwickshire, and I'm just here to try out a few woods that I've been working on renovating, and here they are. So I've got a mix of drivers, brassies, spoons, bulldogs. One thing I'd say is if you are looking to test a few woods, it's always good to make sure that they've got some whipping around the neck. I made the mistake some time ago of taking a nice couple of woods out for test, and I thought, oh, they'll be all right if I don't whip them. They weren't. They broke quite easily just down the neck, which was really infuriating. So actually the whipping does add a considerable amount of strength in that area of the head or the joint. Anyway, let's see how these go. So I've got a mix of drivers, brassies, spoons and a couple of bulldogs in there. So we'll see how they go. See if I can just prop this phone up in a suitable way. Grab a bulldog. So this one I've got at 21 degrees loft, 40.5 inches long. It's a Spalding, and as hopefully the camera will pick that up a bit. It's a sort of light blonde or light brown head, with a sort of cuppy face. I would expect probably to get about 150 if I'm being honest. It's a bit of a windy day, but not bad really for the time of year. Well, I'd be very happy with that if I was playing. So I'm going to hit each of these clubs 2 or 3 times just to check that they have got some strength in them. It was okay, not quite as good as the first, to be honest. So this club has got a face insert in it, as a lot of bulldogs do. It's a sort of probably a nylon. And one tip, if you're looking at testing a wood, if you turn it upside down and you tap it on the ground, what you should be hearing or want to hear is a nice sort of clearish sound, clear ringing. If there's something wrong with the head, if there's a crack somewhere, or if the lead has shifted, you'll often hear a sort of fuzzy resonance to it. It won't be a nice crisp resonance. So I think one more for this. That was the best one, absolutely. Yeah, probably about 160 out of that. Yeah, I would be very happy with that. So, what else have we got here? This is a driver I renovated a few days ago. It's got a very pronounced grain in the head where the centre of the pattern is at the toe, which is very nice. Hopefully, I'll just try and move the camera just in case it's not quite picking up. There we are, I think that's probably a bit better. So hopefully you can see that. And the face on this club, there's quite a bulge to it, which is A bit unusual for clubs of the Hickory era, in my experience. Whilst they do have gentle bulges, this has got quite a pronounced bulge on it. So we'll see how this goes after tea. Take my bottle of water out my pocket. Now, I haven't got a grip on this club yet. Often I'll hit them without a grip on there, and I find that absolutely fine, to be honest, most of the time. Famous last words. So one thing to bear in mind if you're new to hickory golf is the height you're going to tee the woods. The old rule of having about half of the ball above the club face is still a very good, valid rule to follow. Well, that was a bit of a low runner, I would say. I'll have another one of them. A good thing I find is when you're putting your ball in, and I'm just being a bit quiet here because there's people just playing quite near to me on the par 3 course. Right, so the group that were near to me are just putting out about 40 yards away. So we'll just let them clear away. And anyway, a good rule of thumb when you're teeing the ball, I find, is to put the tee on the ball in your fingers, and then for me, about a finger's depth is off the solid base seems to be about right. What I say to a lot of people when I do hickory golf days around the UK is to pay particular attention just when you're starting off to getting the correct teeing height, as that can radically alter the let's say the success factor of the drive. It's always a little bit challenging when people come out with a great big white or grey tee and haven't really thought that they'll be teeing the ball quite a lot lower. So that was pretty good. I got about 190, 200 almost out of that. Quite happy with it. See what else we've got. So, a brassy. What's the name on this one? I'd have to get my glasses on. Got my contact lenses in at the minute. Can't see it easily, I'm afraid. Well, it's Sitwell Golf Club, Rotherham, Hales, Frank Hales. There we are. I can just about read it. This feels a nice wood. It's got its original thin leather grip, which is a bit slippy by modern standards, but a little bit of moisture on the hands really works wonders in terms of giving you just enough purchase on the grip. Yep, quite happy with that one. That was a bit off the toe. That was lovely and straight. I'll be proud of that one. So, no concerns with that brassy. It's not got a lot of loft. Probably I'd say could be about 13, 14. It's quite straight faced, as in lowish loft. Here's another one. This has got Frank Whiting sandwich stamped on it. This feels a little bit longer. It's got a nice wrapped leather grip with some ridges on it, which is always good. Let's see what this does. So this is a brassy. I'd say this has probably got maybe 16, 17 degrees of loft. Certainly more than the last one. Much higher flight. Very nice. I could play with that happily. In my experience, clubs, if they're going to break, they will usually break within the first few hits after being put into play, if you like. If there's a fault, it will become evident usually pretty quickly. So if you're starting Hickory golf, really you don't need to go straight for a driver. My advice probably would be, if you just wanted to use one wood, just get yourself a brassy, something like this. It's more than adequate for getting off the tee and off the fairway as you play around. And then you can just add to your playing set as and when. That was really nice. I'd be really proud of that one. Probably about 180 yards. The other thing to do as well is, if you are inspecting a wood, and let's say if you have opportunity, it's just to give it a gentle twist. And usually if there is a crack, particularly in the shaft bit rather than the head, that will reveal itself if you just give it a tiny little twist. Not much. You don't want to necessarily break it, but that can show you if there's any major defect in the shaft. Shout of 4 behind me. I didn't think it was my direction, but you never know. They're all right. So, moving on. What else have we got? Another bulldog with a very nice dark stain. Quite short. The shaft has little bit of a bend in it. Now, some shafts you literally can straighten just by giving it a bit of a flex, and some you need to apply some heat to it to actually get it to change. Now, this shaft, so for example, just literally pushing it down, a bit of force, is more than enough to get it into a playable condition. In my experience, a shaft that does bend when you just apply a little bit of your own manual strength is not necessarily all bad. In fact, what I tend to find is with modern hickory, I tend to find that that's what can show itself in clubs, in that they can literally bend, but they are quite strong. Very good, like that. When I list a club for sale, and there's some on my website, hickory-golf.co.uk, I tend to, well, I always try to point out whether a club is playable, has been tested, or is in the category of display, where it's got probably some obvious visual faults. Now, sometimes some of those sort of clubs, they can be, the heads or shafts can be swapped and it can be made into a playable club, but that's something that obviously needs a bit of work and experience to do well. But I tend to, well, I try to always point that out if I'm selling clubs, and if you're watching this video, you can often see me on things I've got for sale on YouTube under my company name, which is Time Warp Golf. There's a bit of a slower one, nice punchy one. Yeah, I'd be really happy with that. So I've got about 7 more clubs to try now. I'll probably pause the video there.